Hey everybody, it's Eric at Nailed or Failed Reviews. It's springtime and today we're going to be doing a review on this Sunseeker 4-in-1 trimmer. This has a chainsaw, a trimmer, a hedge clipper, you name it, it's got it. Today we're going to show you guys how it all goes together, all the pieces that it comes with, and then we're going to do a little experimenting. We're going to see how good things are like the chainsaw and the trimmer and a few of the other pieces to give you guys a good idea about whether or not you should be investing your money in the Sunseeker 4-in-1. Let's check it out now on Nailed or Failed Reviews. Let's talk about the hedge clipper here. You can see it, pretty well made. It has, like I was saying earlier, some zerks here to actually input some grease into there, so that's nice. It also has this mechanism here that's a two-pronged approach to operate the pivot that it has, so you have to grab those, pinch them together, and then the whole head unit can pivot, you know, different angles, so that's going to be nice. All these heads, they actually have a capture screw right here that mates to a hole on the shaft itself. So if you put this on here and it doesn't line up, then you know that on the other end, like for this example, the secondary shaft itself, I didn't put it in correctly. You got to turn it 90 degrees and then it'll line up. So there's a hole right here where my thumb's at, and you have to unscrew that first of all for it to even go on. What you got to do with these is now you play this little game where you're trying to find that hole so that the screw lines up with it. And this is really important because you know you don't want this head to be moving around on here. So first you got to fit it onto the internal key shaft itself, which usually will go on pretty easily, and then you got to find the actual hole, so it's right there, and you tighten that down. You tighten down the other clamp there, and then you're good to go. And so now, okay, so now let's talk about the traditional trimmer part of it. So here's the whole unit itself, and when you use this trimmer piece, you actually take off the secondary piece that you put onto the main unit. So we're going to take this one off of here, but this one will go onto there just like that. So I don't think you guys need to see that part of it. But what I did want to show you was the way that this whole unit here is captured and the way that they have it set up. So what you have to do is this has basically a nice little capture piece here. So it's a clamp essentially, and it has a nylock hex nut on there. So you have to find the little key on here, and we'll put the Allen wrench in there, and then we'll use our included wrench with it to get that. So righty-tighty, lefty-loosey does not apply. So that's a left-hand threaded nut there. So we get that nut off, and now we have these two, or this capture piece here. You can take that out of there, and you can see all this comes apart. So it's got a nice ball bearing, so I guess technically you could replace this, it's a cartridge bearing in here. If you want to use the trimmer unit itself, let me show you guys this real quick. This is pretty robust here, probably one of the bigger head units I've actually seen for a trimmer, but it has your traditional button in the middle to release it. It has some nice metal inserts where the wire actually comes out, and then to take the unit apart, it has a tab on each side that you can just push together, and then the whole unit comes apart like this. So you can see we've got the pretty beefy spring and unit in there. Yeah, so that's what the cutouts for on it are for 2.4 or 2.8 wire. So if you need to get it replaced, and then it just goes back together like that. So, and then it's nice on the button itself. It's got a little metal piece here, so you know, hopefully that'll make it a little bit more durable. But when you're using just this piece here, you're going to you're not going to use this top capture piece here that we took apart. You're actually just going to screw on the whole thing by itself. Oh yeah, you're left-hand threaded, guys. Okay, so then you get it onto there like that. Screw it all the way down, and then you're good to go. So again, it's going to be left-hand threaded so that it doesn't come loose as it's turning, and you should be good to go there. So again, this one has the included heavy-duty trimmer here. So this is a 3-bladed, basically heavy brush trimmer. Okay, so now let's talk about the chainsaw. Again, this is a 12-inch bar and a 10-inch actual depth of cut for the saw. It includes a chain here, so that's nice that they include a chain with it. Just be aware that there is a minimum on here that you're going to want to put in here, and so you are going to need some bar oil for that. So the way that this thing works is that it has this little top piece here, and so, or cover I should say, and you're going to put your, you can see here what we're looking at is the motor for the turning the chain. You've got your capture piece and then your tension adjustment here. So pretty straightforward, just like a regular chainsaw. You're going to put this on here, you're going to wrap your chain around, you're going to put your cover back onto here, and then you're going to set the adjustment here in the front with this screwdriver right here. So it does have some angle adjustment, so it's got this pull pin here, and you just pull it out and adjust to where you want to go. So that's going to be nice as well if you're doing just branch trimming. Okay, so let me show you guys how to put the saw together for those of you who are unfamiliar. There is a direction that the chain needs to go, so be aware of that. And what you're looking for are these silver teeth right here that you can see along the chain there. And you want to make sure that those are facing the correct direction. The nice thing about it is they give you a little shot right here so that when it's all put together, those silver pieces that are actually cutting teeth should look just like this does. So it will not look like that picture if you don't put it together correctly, so just be aware of that. So what you need to do first is you're going to need to loosen up this first screw here, and this is your tension screw. So they include this, screwdriver here, but just get a regular screwdriver, flathead, and loosen it up a little bit. And basically what you're trying to do is give yourself some room here because you need to get the chain on and the bar and everything. So you can set the bar on there if you want, but it's not really going to stay. So what you can do, again, make sure that your chain is going to go on the correct direction. You can see here on the bar that it has those little guides in the front there. So you're going to want to make sure that those are in there correctly. So you can set the chain in there and sort of put it into the guide or into the bar in the little slot there all the way down. And then once you get back here, you're going to want to sort of hook it up onto the motor pulley itself first until you reach your capture screw that we were just adjusting. There's the little nub right there sticking out, and now you can finish setting the chain into place. And you're gonna have to finagle it a little bit. You might want to wear gloves if you're a little apprehensive. Okay, so we've got some tension here. This is kind of what you're looking for if you're new to setting up chainsaws. I mean, definitely read the directions, but you want to be able to pull the chain up. The chain should not be completely tight around the bar here because it'll bind up. And so you want to be able to pull up a little bit on it. Maybe not that much because looks like a tooth could come out of there. Don't do it the other way around, so I'm gonna back that off. That a tooth isn't gonna pop out of the saw, out of the guide. as it's running. That'll sort of give you a good idea of how much tension you should have on that. But again, you're probably going to have to mess with it a little bit to get it good. The other piece I wanted to point out was the actual switch down here. I don't know how good I showed you guys this piece, but there's a little red on-off. It looks like an on-off switch right here, but this is just a kill switch. So as you're using it here at the trigger, this is a kill switch that you can hold down. It's on, it's sprung to be on at all times. And if you want to kill it while you're here at the trigger using it, you just put your thumb on it and it'll Here's the stump that I'm going to be working on. I already dug this out. I thought I could pull it out with the truck, but it's just way too big. So I'm hoping this chainsaw can take care of it for me. So I just got the machine loaded up with fuel. And again, this is 50-to-1. So make sure you do that right so you don't screw it up. And we're going to prime it here. I'm doing this first time on here, camera with you guys. Got a little gas there. Okay, we got the choke on full. Let's just see if we can. So here's where I first started running into issues with the machine. Right at the first get-go, when I finally got it started up, the motor seemed to be bogging down even though I had the trigger depressed all the way and was trying to get it to go full speed. You can see me checking it out and using the motor, and it just keeps sounding terrible, like there's something wrong with the choke, or there was something wrong with the fuel or the motor itself. Here I was just trying to figure out what was going on, and I was starting it up and running the motor. Here you can hear it again, just revving up, but actually not sounding quite right. And then I took it all apart, made sure the internal shafts were working or were engaged correctly, and then kept going at it. Here is once I figured out the issue, it had to do with actually inserting grease through that zerk on the front of the head here. And once that happened and I ran the machine some more, it seemed to work well. But once I started cutting through the root here, I was only able to get through a little bit, not much. Here you can see I started cutting away at this leafy, completely alive bush that we've been meaning to do something with for the past couple years. This one's a really tough, woody, thready wood that can be difficult for some chainsaws, and as you can see here, you had to actually work like a sawing motion to get this saw to actually cut through these branches correctly. So I didn't really think that this was working too well and just kind of gave up on it after this. Somehow the button must have vibrated and it actually turned on me, the whole unit. So be aware that that can definitely happen. And again, as you can see here, this is part of the problem with these things, is that the internal shafts are going to come out of there, and you've seen it come out of there, and then you've seen it come out of this part, out of the main engine. And what happens, especially with this one, is you need to find, you'll think that it's all the way down in there, but it's actually not. You actually have to fiddle around with it until you can pick it up and drop it right into the key, and it'll fit actually much farther down in there. So you really gotta pay attention to that aspect of it. We're gonna do some bush trimming, hedge trimming. So remember, on this one you have to use the extension bar. So just got done doing some trimming. It seems to be that you need to grease these zerks on the ones that have them, but I'm just gonna pump some in. They seem to bind up for some reason. So I think I showed you guys, pretty good on the video there, the different tools. Again, I started out with the chainsaw. I wanted to see how well or how good the chainsaw chain is itself. If you're gonna be just cutting some small limbs down that are rotted away, are dry and not still alive, I would say that this would be fine. But if you're trying to do anything like you saw me doing, I'm trying to cut this stump out, which again is just sort of like an extreme version of what you'd be using this for. But again, I don't have a chainsaw handy, and I was just trying to see if I could at least cut through these roots to get that whole stump out, but that's not going to happen with this thing. So again, if you have some dead wood that is hanging and you're trying to just trim those down, you're able to reach them within 10 feet or so, then I would say this is okay. As far as the string trimmer, that worked just like I would expect it would. I have to say that it definitely did the gliding. So if you have, like, say, a small yard and you're looking for a string trimmer to actually just cut your yard, to mow your yard with instead of an actual mower, I would say that this probably wouldn't be so bad. You could use the harness that's included with it, and then the way that this head is so large, you can easily skim across the ground to cut the lawn. The last part was, you saw me working the hedge trimmer. This thing worked really, really well. I had those heavy, very overgrown hedges in the front of our house that I just have been needing to get to, and I just completely neglected for the past couple years. And so you saw me just whacking away at them, and that sucker went really well. So again, I'm not sure if maybe the motor needed some breaking in, as well as the other components. Again, I did, because when I first started using it, you saw when I first started using the hedge trimmer, it sort of bogged down again. I'm not sure why, but I went and, you saw me putting some grease into that zerk head here, which apparently is to the workings, the gears for the actual trimmer piece itself. There's two zerks on here, one for that piece and one for the pivot here. But I think that overall it's a fairly good value. I would say I give it overall about a 6 or a 7 out of 10, just because of the way the chainsaw worked, and the sort of the finickiness with the connections. And this is something that you're going to run into when you're talking about a multi-use tool that comes with different attachments, and you have to take one out and put one in and tighten this down and screw this down and check this and do that. I mean, that just comes with the territory when you're talking about these you know, multi-use tools
Otherwise,
again. But, you know, everything else seems to be fairly well constructed. Like I said, I am sort of suspect about the main connection here and how long it'll actually last. You know, when you're talking about using this summer after summer, switching between these different components to trim your hedges or trim the grass or whatever you need to do. So either way, I think they halfway nailed it. You know, again, if you're looking for a compact, sort of all-in-one unit so that you don't have to buy all these pieces separately, I definitely would suggest something like this. For less than $200, you can't beat it. So, you know, like if you like, subscribe, check out the other videos, and please support the channel with our affiliate links if you're interested in purchasing this Sunseeker 4-in-1 pole saw. Thanks again for watching Nailed or Failed Reviews.